So, Trump supporters, if you're not worried now about the economy, now is the time to be worried. Nebraska, Tyson Foods. They're the largest meat producer in the country. They're closing their Nebraska beef processing plant because of Trump economics. Cattle costs have risen $2 billion because of Trump's tariffs, and it has resulted in a net loss of $425 million in 2025 to date for Tyson Foods. So they're closing their meat packing plant, and 3,200 employees in this small town with only 11,000 residents are losing their jobs. 3,200 employees, and I can guarantee a vast majority voted for this. And it doesn't end there. Tyson is taking their 3-shift slaughter operation in Texas down to 1 shift. So a lot more people at their Texas facility are going to be let go. When you talk about big industries now being affected, not the small guy, but those at the top of the food chain being impacted and closing down, we are in a world of economic hurt. And this is just the beginning, because this Trump administration is not focused on fixing the problem. They keep creating more. And I got to tell you, just this Tyson food location in Nevada, there are so many suppliers, so many vendors, contractors every single day that did work for this Tyson facility, whether inside the building or outside the building. These are big contracts that these local businesses are now going to lose. So they're going to be affected as well. Expect more layoffs and bankruptcies downstream of Tyson Foods.
So, Donald Trump's Energy Secretary Chris Wright admitted for the first time today that the United States of America is experiencing an energy crisis, and people are struggling to pay their bills. What is his strategy and the Trump administration's strategy to reduce the issue? Well, here it is. Are you ready? They are going to use the backup generators from Walmart, behind Walmart's, and plug it into the grid to help reduce the demand of electricity. This is a true story.
Family, the cost of living crisis has been an issue in the United States of America for a minute now, since Donald Trump took in as the president of the United States of America. Americans are suffering. Many Americans are taking it to their TikTok and their social media platforms to show their frustration over the leadership of Donald J. Trump. The other day, Donald Trump the energy secretary, has chosen, to give out Walmart as an option to provide energy for people struggling in this energy crisis. They want Walmart's extra generators, to be used in this crisis, and you wonder what is happening in the government. The cost of living is going high each and every day. There is a lot of things which are not making sense in the government, and they tend not to care. Many Americans are frustrated, especially white folks who actually voted for Donald Trump in large numbers. Family, in this video, we want to dive deep and get to understand the extent of which many folks are being affected with a very high cost of living, many of which are white people who voted for Donald Trump in large numbers. Let's watch this video. Once it's done, we will get back and do a critical analysis about the same. Let's watch this video together, family.
We are doing better than we've ever done as a country. Prices are coming down and all of that stuff. And now we have normal inflation. We're going to get it a little bit lower, frankly, but we have normal. We've normalized it. You are so damn lucky that I won that election. I'm telling you.
So you can feel however you want about the election part of that comment, but the fact is, according to Trump's own administration, 2 reports released today are showing a completely different reality than the one the president keeps talking about. And another report, also released today, shows you aren't buying what Trump is selling about this economy either. Now, before I tell you about these reports, you should know that 2 of them are very late. Because of the government shutdown, we are now just getting the data from the Trump administration for the month of September. But one of the reports I'm going to share with you in this video is very current, and it shows that things have probably gotten economically worse for you since September. So first, let's talk about the government reports. You just heard Trump say that he has normalized inflation. What he means is that he has brought inflation back down to a normal level and prices have come down. Well, the Consumer Price Index report for the month of September shows the opposite of what Trump said. The Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is under Trump's control, says inflation was actually up 3% in September of 2025 when compared to September of 2024. For the record, inflation has been trending up the last few months, which means it's going in the wrong direction. But today, the Producer Price Index report revealed inflation is up for producers too. This report tracks the percentage of price increases that producers are paying for goods and services. And you know, if the cost is going up for them in the next few months, the cost is going to go up for you too. Today's report found inflation for producers is up almost 3% from last year. The Bureau of Labor Statistics says the reason why costs are rising for producers is because of energy, which was up dramatically 3.5% in September, mostly because of the nearly 12% increase in the gasoline index and because of the price for food paid by producers, which was also up more than 1% in September. The other government report released today is from the Commerce Department, and it tracks retail sales. This report found in the month of September, you, the consumer, started to pull back on your spending. The report found only a 0.2% increase in retail sales between August and September of 2025. Economists were predicting a higher number, and they now say this sort of tiny increase in retail sales shows consumer fatigue, probably because of the higher prices we're all paying for stuff. The month-over-month slowdown in retail sales really showed up in this report in key categories that are definitely impacted by tariffs, including vehicles, electronics, and clothing. And speaking of what we're all experiencing, the Consumer Confidence Report released today showed your confidence in this economy plummeted between October and November of 2025. In October, the consumer confidence number was 95.5, and in November, it was down to 88.7. That is the lowest number we've seen since April. Coincidentally, April was the exact same month that President Trump announced his sweeping tariffs. So, what is shaking your confidence in this economy right now? According to the report, pretty much everything, both currently and based on what you expect to happen in the next 6 months. More people believe business conditions were bad. Fewer people believe jobs were plentiful. More people believe business conditions would get worse in the next 6 months, and more people believed their incomes would decrease in the next 6 months. So the reality is, when you take all of these things and put them together, including the government's own reports, it is clearly painting a different picture than the one President Trump keeps talking about.
Multiple Trump officials were on the Sunday morning shows and accidentally said exactly what is happening with our economy. And let's get right into it, because Scott Bessent was asked if we are in a recession, and here's what he had to say.
Let me ask you big picture, Mr. Secretary. You said earlier this month, I'm going to quote you, quote, "I think there are sectors of the economy that are in a recession." Kevin Hassett, director of the National Economic Council, said, quote, "We're starting to see pockets of the economy that look like they might be in a recession." Which parts of the economy do you believe have dipped into a recession?
Well, clearly housing has been struggling, and interest rate sensitive sectors have been in a recession. And the other thing that was not helpful, Kristen, was the longest government shutdown in history. It was 1.5% hit to GDP. The 9,500 flights canceled, and the Democrats didn't care that they hurt the American economy and anything to stop Donald Trump.
Well, big picture, is the country at risk, the entire country at risk of being in a recession?
No, I am very confident about 2026, because what we are going to see is...
I don't trust you. I don't trust you. In fact, I think you're lying, because one thing you did not mention here, which has been the biggest reason that the economy has stalled, is because of Donald Trump's tariffs, the largest tax put on working people in American history. You didn't seem to mention that part, the fact that people can't afford to pay for basic things like rent and food, and costs are skyrocketing Meanwhile, Scott Bessent was asked about the cost of living, and he said, don't worry about it because turkeys are cheap.
J.D. Vance asked people to have, quote, a little bit of patience with the administration. Let me ask you, Mr. Secretary, how long do Americans need to be patient? How long do they have to wait for the cost of living to come down?
Well, Kristen, in March of 2024, I wrote a piece and I talked about the 3 I's that were killing Americans: immigration, interest rates, and inflation. Presidents closed the border and the mass immigration is gone. And that was putting, a lot of the immigration was putting upward pressure on housing, downward pressure on wages. Interest rates are down, and now we are starting to see the affordability. The prices.
Uh-oh, Robot Bessent short-circuited.
Starting to see the affordability. The prices get better. We had a very big October for home sales. Energy prices, gasoline is down. We saw, we believe healthcare is going to come down. We will see an announcement this coming week on that. And so across the board, prices are starting to come down. We're having Thanksgiving week. This will be the lowest cost for a Thanksgiving dinner in 4 years. Turkey prices are down 16%.
So we have more troubling news because of Trump's handling of the economy and the healthcare crisis. United Healthcare just announced that they are removing 1 million senior citizens, 1 million from the United Healthcare Medicare Advantage plan. 1 million. Why are they doing this? Because their profits are tanking. Why are their profits tanking? Because medical care costs are increasing. Why are they increasing? Because of the what? Upwards of $1 trillion in cuts to Medicaid and Medicare. And because there are so many more people now uninsured, they can't afford these premiums. And no, they're not illegals. They're American citizens. But all of these people who are increasingly uninsured still go to the hospital, still need emergency care. So that gets passed on in the form of higher medical costs to those that are insured. Now, the 1 million senior citizens on the Medicare Advantage program is considered a low-hanging fruit for United Healthcare because they're specifically targeting senior citizens on low income. They pay the lowest in premiums, but they utilize a lot of medical care, so the return on investment is getting poorer and poorer for this for-profit healthcare company. And those million senior citizens, a lot of them are located in red states. This affects you too, Trump voters. Seniors who voted for Trump, this affects you too. What's most troubling is that economists are saying this, what United Healthcare is doing is a leading indicator of what's next, what's going to be done by other for-profit insurance companies. And once they cut senior citizens off of these plans, you better believe it, they're going to go after other programs for insuring people who are not senior citizens. Great job, Trump.
Well, America, he has spent the tariff money. I believe he has spent the tariff money. I also believe he spent the SNAP money. I believe we have spent so much money that we are going to be broke. We increased our national deficit $1 trillion in 30 days. We're giving $1 trillion to the military, $170 billion to Homeland Security, $1 billion to overhaul a Qatar jet, $40 billion to Argentina. We only bring in $5 trillion for taxes every year. I believe we are going to be broke. Let's not forget about the White House, the golfing, the $49 million birthday parade, all the public events, the Super Bowl, the NASCAR. I really think the USA is going to be broke. He has gone bankrupt 6 times, including bankrupting a casino. He was broke before he came in office. He has squandered an inheritance. I think we're going to be broke. Tell me I'm wrong.
What is it like to live in an economy where half the country is in a recession and a small portion is completely thriving and has no incentive to change anything? That is the current economy we're living in America right now. I write a newsletter about money psychology and behavioral economics, and I write a lot about how the economy affects how we individually think about and use our money. And as I've written about many times, we are living in a split reality, a bifurcated economy. Economists will call this a K-shaped recovery, where essentially the top percentile of wealthy Americans feel fine. They're more likely to own homes and stocks, and those have gone up by and large. But if you're in that bottom kind of portion, you are likely struggling. You're more likely to be affected by inflation. It's more likely that your wages have not kept up with inflation. And so I want to talk about how that is shaping how people think about the world. And I want to point out that it's not necessarily 50-50. Like the top 10% of earners in America account for 49% of consumer spending. They are by and large driving the economy forward. And I think that explains why you see a lot of headlines that will say, GDP is up or things seem relatively stable, even though a lot of people's lived experiences is quite bad. And that's why I don't love focusing on these top level headlines, because your lived experience vastly shapes how you perceive the economy. And a lot of people are living in two completely different economic realities. How we see the world and the economy and ourselves is heavily influenced by our money, how we, our experiences that we go through. And that explains why wealthier people feel better about the economy right now than poor people. And so the question is, what economy are you living in right now? And how is that shaping how you kind of see the world?
I hope y'all ain't buying shit. The economic blackout started today. That means we not putting our coins in nobody else's pockets but our own, okay? You shop within your community only. If you can't get it from your community and it's dire, like food, okay, I get it. But no Christmas presents, no Amazon shopping, none of that good shit. No Hobby Lobby, no Michaels, no Home Goods. No, none of that, okay? The economic blackout is for the administration to understand we're not fucking around when it comes to our ACA subsidies. Them premiums that are about to be 175% come January. Yeah, the pollution he just signed into effect. Yeah, that's going to kill a lot of us. Yep, he signed that shit too. The 20 states that are filing lawsuits because of the homelessness activities in their states and him removing funding from them. All of that on top of the Epstein files. We don't need to give them shit. Okay? At this point, sit on your fucking hands, save some money. You may need it next year for your fucking health care.
Family, America was once a land that many people believed in, that once you work so hard, you'd get great opportunities. And America right now doesn't guarantee good life. Today, even the people who once felt safe, even the people who once felt safe are now crying out. White America is shocked by the cost of living crisis. They never imagined it would hit them. Family, right now, the cost of living has become a very big problem in America. We are seeing many folks cry, about the cost of living. Many people cannot be able to afford basic commodities. And right now, that is the new crisis. Groceries that used to cost around $80 are now going upwards of $150. That is double. Rent, for example, the apartment rent has doubled. Gas eats half of the paycheck. Americans are working more hours, yet falling deeper into struggle. That just shows you the new problem that is happening in America today. Many folks are struggling under the leadership of Donald J. Trump. They voted for him thinking whiteness would continue prevailing in America. But right now we are seeing the white privilege, falling down each and every day. We are seeing more white folks cry even more than black people in America today, because the cost of living does not care if you're black, white, or melanated. It doesn't care. The cost of living is relative to each and everyone. And family, that is the new problem in America today. People can barely be able to pay for food. Right now, there's been a cut on food stamps for the month of November, and many Americans are struggling. Many folks do not know where they shall get monies to ensure that they put food on the tables in their families. And family, that has become a problem right now. Many people are struggling. Groceries that used to cost $80 are now retailing at $150. For the first time in decades, millions of white families now feel the kind of economic pressure that black communities have faced for generations. Family, this is now becoming a problem to each and every American. The crisis didn't just happen overnight. Decades of inequality, bad leadership, and greed have created a system where the rich get richer and everyone else fights to survive. Family, right now you've heard there is an energy crisis in America, and Donald Trump has chosen to fall back to Walmart. They want Walmart to help Americans using their extra generators, and you wonder what is happening in the US. Who even advises the president of the United States of America? No white Americans are waking up to the painful truth. The system they trusted was never built to protect them. It was built to protect power. Politicians are now blaming immigrants. They blame the poor. They blame everything except the real issue. A government that abandoned working people long ago. Family, that is the new reality in America. An America that blames its people. An America that the president does not want to be accountable for whatever he is doing. And now things are becoming unbearable. Not only for white folks, but for Americans at large. White people who thought that having Donald Trump in office would make their lives easier. Their lives are actually turning out to be miserable under his leadership. This government, ironically, the same leaders many white voters trusted are the same ones cutting food aid, are the same people raising taxes right now and letting corporations run the world. And black Americans have been saying this for decades. This system doesn't care about us. Now white Americans are feeling the same pain. They are facing overdue rent notices. They are having empty fridges and maxed out credit cards. It's a cycle coming full circle, and it's shaking the nation. Some say this is judgment to America. For me, I believe this is judgment because for the longest time, black people have been treated really, really badly in America. But for the first time, we are seeing everyone struggle in America, including white people. People who thought that black people were the people who should actually face problems in America are now facing the very, very same problems that are being perpetuated in black communities in America. This nation, America, was built on oppression, a nation that was built on injustices and lies. Now the foundation is cracking, and the suffering is no longer limited to people it once targeted, the black people. The struggle is now going for each and every American. They thought that that was a black problem. Right now, it's a problem for each and every American. Whether you see it as economic collapse or political failure or even divine judgment, one thing is clear. America is falling under the weight of its own choices, and the cost of living crisis is the loudest warning yet. Family, let me know in the comment section down below what you think about this episode. Do you think that white folks are now suffering due to mistakes they made by voting in Donald Trump as the next president of the United States of America? Kindly like the video so that it can be recommended to other YouTube users, and I'd be very, very grateful. Lastly, I really appreciate if you all took your time to subscribe to the channel. We are currently on the road to 50,000 subscribers, and fam, we can never achieve this milestone if you all do not support us. Thank you so much, and see you all in our next episode. Goodbye for now.